talk today will discuss the prizes and preview the 2023 Windham Campbell Festival. It's upcoming on campus here in New Haven from September 18th to 22nd. As many of you know, the prizes are only a young 10 years old or so, but they have grown very deep roots and have had great global reach already in their first decade. And I think it's exciting to see how much further they will go in the years and decades ahead. This growth and reach is certainly thanks to the foresight, example, inspiration, and generosity of Donald Windham and Sandy M. Campbell. They were two people deeply committed to writers and to writing, and deeply committed to what writers and writing mean for the world. In a very particular way, the growth and reach of the prize program that carries Donald and Sandy's name is surely and mostly due to the leadership, wisdom, care, and creativity of the prize's founding director, Michael Kelleher. Like Donald and Sandy, Mike is deeply committed to writers and to writing, and he has made the Windham Campbell Prizes a writer's prize par excellence. It is always a delight to be with him, and today it is a particular delight to welcome to this screen so that he can share a bit about the prizes, where they've been, where they are, where they're going, and the exciting festival upcoming. Mike, the screen is yours.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Nice to see you. You can see I've got my headshots of this year's prize recipients behind me, who I'll introduce in just a second. I actually see a couple of them in the room. So hello to DG and Susan. And I think I see Margot Jefferson from last year here. So hi, Margot. Nice to see you all here. So I'm going to just very briefly tell you a little bit about the history of the prizes, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the festival that is upcoming, and then you can just ask me anything after that, and we'll just do a quick Q&A. So for those of you who aren't aware of the prize, this is our 11th year, actually, or this is the 11th group of prize recipients to whom we've given the prize. The prizes were founded in 2012 with a bequest to Yale from Donald Windham, who was himself a writer of nonfiction as well as fiction, a play or two, a children's book, a little bit of translation. I don't think he actually wrote any poetry that I'm aware of. And Donald was the partner of Sandy M. Campbell for many, many years. And they were really a part of this kind of exciting, fabulous New York literary community. And they were friends with people like Tennessee Williams and Truman Capote and Carl Van Vechten and many other kind of glamorous literati of mid-century New York. Sandy himself was an actor mostly, but also a writer. And eventually he became Donald's publisher in the 60s. And most of the money that they had was, well, all the money that they had was Sandy's family money. His family ran a company that manufactured chemicals for cleaning products, which I guess is now called Ecolab, which you've probably seen in a bathroom somewhere in an airport. And when Sandy died, he left all his money to Donald, and it was all stock in this one company. And Donald outlived Sandy by about 20 years or so, and it had grown into quite a fortune. And just kind of astonishingly, they called Yale out of the blue one day and said, we want to create a prize for writers, and we'd like you to manage it. And here's the entire estate, more or less, to do that with. And so it's created this extraordinary prize that allows us to recognize writers for the work that they've done at whatever stage they are in their careers, whether it be, you know, their first book or their 50th. And to give them support for future work. And so to that end, the prize each year goes to 8 writers, and each person gets, now the value of the prize is $175,000. It went up this year. It had been 165 for the last 5 or 6 years. And so it's just a really incredible, life-changing opportunity for writers to just take the time that they need to write. And so we've tried to make a big deal out of that. So we spend a lot of time, building the global reputation of the prizes, traveling to literary festivals all over the world, and just trying to get our name out far and wide, so that the prize is not only a cash prize, but has value in terms of its reputation throughout the world, which we've just been working on building for the last decade. All the prize recipients are required to come to Yale to accept their prizes in September each year. And so we celebrate by having them participate in a literary festival that is free and open to the public, and includes a prize ceremony, as well as readings, staged readings of staged readings of dramatic works, readings by the writers, panel discussions, and discussions of all kinds of things. We have discussions about music and movies and art, and we try to take advantage of all the sort of incredible resources that we have here at Yale to be able to do that, and to have interesting topics for conversations. So this year's festival is going to happen September 19th to the 22nd. The prize ceremony is on the 20th. And this year's keynote speaker is music writing legend Greil Marcus, who's going to be talking. The topic is always, why do you write? And so he will be giving the talk this year. And then our partner, Yale University Press, will be publishing the book version of that talk a year from now. And then last year's talk by former U.S. Poet Laureate Natasha Trethewey will be published right around that time. So the book from last year will be out this year, and then Greil will give the talk. And then following that, we're going to have all kinds of events. We're going to have food trucks. We're going to have a big tent in the middle of campus. And we are going to be doing all kinds of collaborations with the Native American Cultural Center, the Asian American Cultural Center, the African American Studies Department, and many other groups around campus, to talk to you about all kinds of different things. We're going to talk about Black feminism. We're going to talk about Indigenous writing. We're going to talk about the CIA in Africa. We're going to talk about Irish civil rights in folk songs. We're going to be talking about Schoenberg. We're going to be talking about Jay Dilla. We're going to be talking about Percival Everett's paintings, and many other things. So I guess I should just, if you don't know, all our recipients from this year, I'll point up to here is Jasmine Lee Jones, who is a playwright from London. She's also far and away the youngest person to ever receive the Windham Campbell Prize. She's 25 years old. She's written 2 plays to date. Her most famous play is a play that takes place entirely on Twitter, and it's called 7 Methods of Killing Kylie Jenner. Next to her is Alexis Pauline Gumbs, who is a poet and nonfiction writer, and just a kind of human dynamo. And she is really engaged with the entire history of Black feminism, Black queer feminism, and writing that out in an incredibly wide array of poetic and prose forms. She also just recently finished a biography of the poet Audre Lorde, which we're going to talk about while she's here. Next to her, we have Percival Everett, one of the premier American novelists writing today. And he has, I don't know, I couldn't even count how many novels he has published to date, but it's upwards of 40, I think. He's an incredibly prolific and precise and hilarious writer. And next to him, from Northern Ireland, we have Darren Anderson. Darren has written three nonfiction books to date. His most recent book is a memoir called Inventory, where he tells the story of growing up in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, by way of picking up objects kind of at random out of his parents' attic in Derry. And down here in the corner is Susan Williams, who I believe is in the audience. Hi, Susan. Susan is a historian from the UK, has written a number of amazing histories of different topics having to do with the politics of Africa. Most recently, White Malice, which is about the CIA operating in Africa during the early 60s. She's also written about the death of Dag Hammarskjöld, as well as many other topics. And Susan and I just put out a podcast this past week where we talk about Charles Dickens' Bleak House, which you can enjoy on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any other place that you want to listen. And we'll have a podcast with each of the writers. We've done 6 so far that are available. So I highly recommend you visit our podcast. And then kind of slightly hidden, who I think is also in the room, is DG Nanuk Okpik, who's an Inuit and Yup'ik poet who lives in Santa Fe. And we're really excited to bring DG here. I actually was having a conversation this morning with a student from North Dakota who is a Native student that is involved with the Native American Cultural Center here on campus. And we are planning an amazing event involving students getting engaged with DG and interviewing her out in the tent one day during our lunch break. So we're really excited about that. And there'll be other stuff happening around her visit as well. Also hidden slightly behind me is Dominique Morisseau, really incredible American playwright, most well known probably for her Detroit trilogy of plays, but she's also written the books for a couple of jukebox musicals. One is oh God, is it? I think it's called Ain't Too Proud, the music of the Temptations, which came out a few years ago. And then she has a new one that's a Soul Train musical that I think is premiering out in maybe San Francisco this fall as well. And she's also very involved in television and Netflix and all kinds of series as well. And then last but not least, Ling Ma, who is a fiction writer, lives in Chicago. And Ling is the author most recently of a collection of short stories called Bliss Montage, as well as a novel called Severance. And she tends to write a kind of literary speculative fiction, I guess you would say. And we're going to be talking to her about that. One of the things we're going to be doing with her is doing a kind of close viewing of a scene from Francis Ford Coppola's film The Conversation from 1974 with Richard Deming from the creative writing department. And they're going to examine a scene from a kind of creative writer's point of view and like how a narrative is constructed visually in a classic film. So that's just a little brief pressy of some of the stuff that's going to be happening. There are many more events planned, and it's going to be a really full few days. So we hope you can all join us and tell your friends. All the events are free and open to the public, and we'd like to see as many people there as possible. I feel like we're finally more or less fully back. Last year we were back, but it didn't feel like we were quite back in person, or at least not in full. It felt a little bit tentative, and I feel like this year everybody is just ready. So I'm super excited to bring everybody here and to introduce them to all of you. I think that's all I have to say at the moment. Michael, do you want to
Yeah, great.
lead the
Thank you for that.
Q&A? And
Thank you for
yeah.
a fabulous tour of the horizon, tour of the 2023 winners. When we close this afternoon, I'm taking 40 New Haven high school students on a tour of the Beinecke building and our work with high school students is continued to grow, and Windham Campbell's been a leader in that. So I wonder if you could share a little bit about the work that you do with Co-op High School, maybe for the audience who doesn't know New Haven all that well, a little bit about what
Sure.
Co-op High School is and the.
Well, Co-op High School is sort of like the Fame High School of New Haven, if you remember the show Fame. Except I don't think you have to try out. I think you just have to get in a lottery. But it's an art-focused public high school, and it's just a few blocks from Yale. And really, since the first year of the prizes, we have involved them in the festival by doing 2 events with all the prize recipients over on campus. And so we'll go over there one morning, and the students we've got a group of really motivated 16-year-olds who are reading the work of all the prize recipients over the summer. And we're going to train them in interviewing techniques as the school year begins. And they're going to interview all the writers on stage in front of their peers in the theater at the school. And then they'll also come back the following day to do a writing workshop in small groups with the kids. And we've been doing that for 10 years. And it's just been really amazing to see how it inspires the students at this school to really engage in creative writing in all these different ways. They can engage in fiction and poetry, nonfiction, drama. And so there's a whole bunch of different ways for them to see what writing is or could be. And yeah, and all of the prize recipients that go tell me that it's the highlight of their visit. So,
And perhaps 20 years from now, we'll have a co-op alum win a Windham Campbell prizes.
hey, you never know.
You gave a sort of great discourse on the vast set of partnerships you've got, and so there's even more. And I wonder if you could talk some about what you've been doing with Yale Review.
Oh, well, so yeah, so there's when the pandemic hit the very first year, we kind of had we didn't know if we were going to have a festival. And we were still, as I think many people were in those early days, thinking, well, it'll be over by August, and so we'll be able to have the festival. And so we waited a really long time before we canceled the festival, which didn't really give us an opportunity to put together what we felt would have been an adequate online festival that would live up to what we can do in person. And so that first year of the pandemic, we just canceled the festival. And in lieu of that, we began to work with the Yale Review, which is edited by Megan O'Rourke. And we've developed a great partnership with them over the last few years, where that year, all that the recipients did was give work to the Yale Review. But it was such a success, and it was one of their most read issues since Megan took over. And so we were all very excited about the possibilities of that collaboration. And so now we've just built that into what we do, in addition to, as part of what the prize recipients, we ask the prize recipients to do during a year. They have to come to the festival. We ask them to do a podcast with us. We make videos about them, and they contribute some work to a special issue of the Yale Review that's just dedicated to them.
Great. So our hope with this talk in mid-July was that everybody will put a pin in their calendars and basically clear your days for that week of September 18th. As Mike noted, more details will come by August 15th. The full schedule will be posted and promulgated across social media, et cetera. So we hope everybody here will be ambassadors. We have questions coming in from the audience. One is about beyond the actual prize announcement and the award and the festival. How do you keep in touch with writers, and what are you doing in terms of building and staying in touch with winners after their prize year?
Well, I mean, we try to keep in touch with them, and we try to find opportunities to work together. So, I mean, some of it is just basic, like we keep an eye out to see if anybody has a book coming out, or if anybody just won a prize, and we'll, try to sort of highlight some of that stuff in our social media accounts and so forth, so that people kind of know what the writers are still doing and connect them with our prize and so forth. And then we also, I spend a lot of the off season traveling to literary festivals all over the world. And where there's opportunity to bring those writers to a festival, we oftentimes can help, the festival with some kind of a contribution to help them bring some of our writers to the festival. And they often will, give us some branding opportunities at the festival, or create events that are just about the Windham Campbell prizes, or featuring the Windham Campbell prize. There's a lot of different shapes that stuff can kind of take, but we're always looking for opportunities to highlight the ongoing work of the writers, and also to keep them connected with us. We feel like part of what we're doing is creating this global literary community, and so we like to try and help everybody keep that good feeling going, but also to find ways to benefit each other down the road.
Thanks. Number of people in the audience have asked questions about how the prizes work, how people are chosen, what the process is. So I wonder if you could talk, because it's one that is pretty unique.
Yeah, well, I mean, I really, I sit down and I close my eyes, and then I just start saying names out loud, and then they go out into the world, and that's how it happens. It's pretty exciting. I'm just kidding. We actually have a very involved year-long selection process. And it begins basically the day after we announce the previous year's prizes. So we will, at that point, invite 60 people from around the world to make 2 nominations each. And they write one letter for somebody who is from like mid-career to late career, and then one for somebody who's in their early career. And so we get roughly 120 nominations, and you can divide that up by 4, so there's about 30 in each category. That part of the process lasts throughout the spring. We spend the summer putting together dossiers on every writer. Megan, who's our program manager, basically spends the months of June and July furiously researching 120 writers and putting together, like a 20-page packet on each one that includes information about their works, information, links to reviews and interviews, reviews of their books, things like that. And then we have prize juries, who are the sort of middle phase of the process. They get all their books starting about now, and they read until October. And we fly all 4 of the juries in separately to Yale in October, November, and each one of them has an all-day 8-hour plus meeting where we select 4 finalists, and then write support statements for each one of those finalists as a group. And then once we have completed that part of the process, they go home and their part in the process is complete. And then the next phase is the selection committee. And that's a group of 9 people, and they select the recipients in all of the categories. And that group basically does the same thing. They read for 3 months. They only read the finalists, so there are 16 finalists, and they read those from November until we meet in February. And then it's the same process all over again. We get in a room for 8 hours. We select 8 of those 16 people, 2 in each of the 4 categories, to receive the prize. And then once we're done, I call everybody up, or I actually first I send a kind of cryptic email saying that I've got some good news and could we get on a Zoom chat. And then I get everybody on Zoom one at a time, and I surprise them with the news that they are receiving the prize and that they're winning all this money. And then we usually hold the announcement for about 6 or 7 weeks, so that we have time to put together a global publicity campaign, as well as to create profile videos on each writer, as well as social media content that we can share as part of the prize announcement. And then we start again.
There are many prizes in the world for various different art forms, including writing, and there's others that are housed in attached to universities. But there aren't a whole lot that are necessarily associated with a library and a rare book collection. And I wonder if you could talk about what it means, what you think it means for the library and the university to have the Windham Campbell prizes, and what it means for this prize program to be based in a university, and particularly in a special collections library in the university.
Well, I mean, the I one of the amazing things about doing this in the Beinecke Library is just the fact that, when you come here, you're in this place that is just this repository for writing, and it's filled with the archives and the manuscripts and the books and just the history of just huge numbers of great writers from all over the world, and from all these different time periods. And so it's really incredible to just sort of like fit this into that, to bring the kind of contemporary, as it happens, exciting writing of the day into this place that is caring for the history of writing, and perhaps might care for the history of the writing of these writers, if they so choose to put their archives here someday. But I mean, and Yale, it has such an incredible global reputation that it really, from the first day, gave us this great uh, visibility that I don't think we would have had otherwise. But also, just from a practical back of the house standpoint, a kind of stability that you don't necessarily have if like Donald Wyndham could have said, all right, we're starting a prize. I've created a not-for-profit, or we're creating a not-for-profit organization, and it has to manage itself. And that works. I mean, that's been done. There are plenty of prizes that do things like that. But slotting a prize like this, of this magnitude, into a place like Yale that has such a long history, and knowing that, we have the funds to run it forever, to make it a part of the ongoing long history of that place, I think really makes it unique. It doesn't need to be tied to the needs and desires of sponsors or corporations or anything like that. And it really allows us to just focus on writing and writers and nothing else.
You are yourself a writer, and I would encourage people to check out Mike's poetic works. But I wonder if you talk a little bit about your own writing life these days, and anything that may be forthcoming, or things that you'd want to share with the audience about your own writing
Yeah, I had a pretty good
process.
pandemic writing wise, but then I wrote a book, and now I'm not sure if I like it, and so I've been kind of sitting on it for a year, and trying to decide if I feel like it is something that I want to send out, or if it's something that I just need to put aside and start something else. So that's where things stand. But
Maybe,
I'm really
maybe,
happy with the books I put out before the pandemic.
maybe we'll poll the audience. I'm sure everybody's going to say, we want it, put it out, put it out. Um, if we had any reason to wonder, did writing matter? It strikes me that the headlines every day tell us that writing matters, because if it didn't matter, state legislatures and politicians wouldn't be seeking to ban books and police libraries. So I think we have a clear sense. But I wonder, in this moment, which is a highly contested and difficult moment that we're in as a society, as a nation, as a world, no one of us, nor any library or prize program can solve all the problems of the world, but we're very much in the world, and this prize program is very much in the world. I wanted to just reflect what it means to be a writer and to celebrate writing in 2023 amidst all the challenges that we face as a globe and as a people.
Well, I don't know. I feel like it's a really exciting time globally for writing, despite all of the doom and gloom. Just watching the way that the literary world has changed in like such a dramatic way in the last 10 years. Um, I feel like, it's, clearly a much more diverse world. It's clearly a world that is, I think, just much more engaged than it was 10 years ago. I mean, I don't think it's a time where people are satisfied with Yeah, with just, writing for its own sake. I feel like we live in a time where people really want writing to make change happen in the world, or at least inspire change to happen in a very specific kind of way, or in many different specific kinds of ways. And I think that it's something that is always present in writing, but I feel like it has felt urgent over the last decade or so in a way that I don't remember it feeling, say, 20 years ago. Like during the 90s, everything felt kind of fun, and the .com thing was happening, and blah blah blah. And I feel like there's a real sense of crisis and urgency in the literary world right now that is created by circumstances that are not good, but it's also, like, I think, hopeful to see that kind of activity.
Appreciate that. An audience member asked, will any of the events in September be available online?
Um, the keynote address and prize ceremony will be live streamed, and many of the other events will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel after the festival is over, but they will not be live streamed during the festival.
Okay. And there's also lots of archived video on the Windham Campbell YouTube and Vimeo channels, which you can find from the Windham Campbell.
Yeah, there are highlights from last year's festival, as well as the second year of the pandemic. We did an all online festival that was very unique. And we did some really incredible events that year that you can also check out on the Windham Campbell YouTube channel.
And again, the best advice is don't make any other plans for the week of Monday, September 18th to the 22nd. But if you are keeping notes at home, the prize ceremony will be Wednesday, late afternoon, early evening, and Grell Marcus's lecture. But again, on August 15th, the full schedule will be available on the Windham Campbell website and shared broadly by Yale Library, Beinecke. So you don't have to wait too long to find all the details, but you're best to keep that space clear if you're anywhere near New Haven, and make plans to come to New Haven if you're not right next door. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us, including prize winners past and present, and lots of friends from around campus, around the New Haven community, and far beyond. Our next and first regular, as it were, in the fall semester Mondays at Beinecke will be on September 11th at 4 p.m. featuring Kevin Repp, who's curator of modern European books and manuscripts and organizer of the building-wide show Art Protests in the Archives, soon to be on view at Beinecke Library. And if you're around for the Windham Campbell Festival in September, it will be on view in a show itself that speaks to the urgency of art and archives. So watch for more on that. Again, make sure to check back at the Windham Campbell Prizes website for full information on the schedule upcoming, and stay in touch with all of us via all the typical channels. We've got a little bit of time, Mike, and so I wonder if you could just close this out. I'm not going to ask you for your favorite or anything, but an experience over the last 11 years of the prizes that stands out as one that is a fond memory.
Fond memory. I think just coming back last year in person, I thought was really incredible. And we, the first day of the festival, we always take photos of everybody. We have this great photographer whose real name is Beowulf, and Beowulf comes in, and he comes in for 4 or 5 days, and he shoots the whole festival. And the first day, we take portraits, we take group photos, and this year we took photos. We give them all these beautiful artists' books that are each handmade for each of them as the physical manifestation of the prize, and they're just absolutely beautiful objects to behold. And so we had everybody kind of pose for a photograph, where they sort of opened up their prize and got to see what it looked like. And we were kind of like jokingly posing as we did it, but it was actually like it got really moving, like people I think were really visibly moved by seeing the amount of work and care that was put into just making that beautiful work of art. And so I thought that was a really kind of like moving testament to the power of what we're trying to do, as well as just being together in person in the same place again.